No, I don't use it. It's not purely an entertainment term. I don't, if someone in the audience, well, let me give you an example of the Riviera. A couple of years ago, I was working there for a month in Vegas, and I said someone is thinking so-and-so. And this gentleman, elderly gentleman, stood up, and I said, who are these people? And he says, Kreskin, they're not family. They're our two dogs. We're not going to Vegas. We don't live here. We're vacationing. We're thinking about them. And I said to him, did you say to your wife, I wonder if he can give me my Army number? It's too bad a camera wasn't there, because he slammed his fist on this small desk and said, yes, I did say that to her, but it was at the casino we're staying at during dinner 2 hours ago. And then I asked him, who knows your Army number? And if you can ask any man or woman who's been in the service, they've never told anybody it, but they don't forget it. And I gave him every single digit of his Army serial number. He was in World War II. So I'm not a fortune teller. If someone says, I'm thinking of December 18th, and I stand up and say, what does that mean? Well, where am I going to be then? If they don't know, I can't tell them. But if they focus on it, that's what I do for a livelihood. When I was a kid, 5 years old, on the Polish side of my family, I'm visiting relatives in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania with my family, and a kid gives me a comic book. And the comic had a character in it called Mandrake. Mandrake the Magician, a legendary comic. Well, I wanted to be like him, because Mandrake wasn't a magician. He had hypnotic powers. He could read people's thoughts. He solved crimes. When I went home, I went to my grandma's house with my brother, hid a penny upstairs in Grandma's house. Grandpa was at work. He went upstairs, hid it. He called me. I walked upstairs. She didn't speak English, didn't know what was going on. I loved her dearly. I meandered through my grandma's kitchen into my uncle's bedroom. He was at work, climbed up on a chair, and found myself reaching behind a curtain rod and touching the penny. And then I realized I forgot to tell my brother to talk to me. He never said a damn word. He never said anything. He didn't know what was going on. And that was the turning point in my life. 4th and 6th grade, my teachers were having me do experiments during show and tell. And by 12 years old, I was performing in a small way, getting big money, $5 a show. We always had to tell ahead of time, what are we going to do on the show? I mean, a singer, what song are you going to sing and what have you, because they want to get a format of it. And I explained what I was going to do, and NBC called me and said, not Carson. NBC said, you're not to do this. I get a call from Carson's secretary a few days before. I was in the Midwest performing at universities. She says, Johnny's going to call you tomorrow night. Where are you going to be? I said, I'll be in my hotel room after 11. They call me. He's in New York. There's a time difference. He said, Kreskin, you were told not to do this with me. I said, yes. He said, just understand this. We're going to do it. He had some words to describe the network, but they're 4-letter words in technical journals that we don't say in public. He was furious. I finally have Johnny stand. Ed McMahon and Doc Severinsen didn't know what was going on because there was no rehearsal. Johnny, as I'm talking to him, his eyes closed. His body became standingly rigid. I said, Ed, be careful. And I pushed, and Johnny started to fall, and he caught him, of course. I said, Ed, pick up his legs. He's rigid as can be. We put his head on shoulders on one chair, his feet on the other. There was no illusion. This was not a magic act. And I asked the lady to come over to the set. She was one of the guests. She wouldn't. I had dinner with her a few years ago. She said, Kreskin, I thought I'd never be asked on the show again. She says, no. And we asked her, and finally the producer, DeCordova, says, go over there. So she comes over. I said, sit on him. I said, sit on him. She sat in the middle of him, lifted her legs up. That picture was in Parade magazine all over the world. When it was all over, we lifted her off. Slowly I raised Carson. I started counting back from 10 to 1. His body relaxed, his eyes open. He says, Kreskin, I would have suggested it was a baby. It was Bette Midler. Fallon said, I want you to do the same thing right at this place where Johnny did it, and we did it with him, except when he was between two chairs, no one sat on him. I got in another chair, climbed up, and stepped on him, and stood there, and NBC repeated that scene 2 times in 2 weeks because it was dramatic. So I have my work, because it deals with people's behavior and so forth, it's an adventure because people are different.